All right, hello, and thanks for joining Piper Sandler's 33rd Annual Healthcare Conference, again in a virtual setting here this year. Hopefully we can be back together again in person next year. This is Jason Bednar of Piper's MedTech team, and I'm pleased to have with me today from EDAP TMS Chairman and CEO, Mark Ottachowski. Mark, I'll turn it over to you if you have some quick introductory comments, and you want to provide a brief overview of EDAP, and then we can get into Q&A. And thanks for joining us today.
Sure. Good morning, Jason, and thanks for the opportunity of participating to the conference with you guys. Like you said, hopefully we can soon be in person, having those meetings and discussing opportunities in business. On a very quick introduction, I'm Mark Ottachowski. As you said, I'm the Chairman and Chief Executive Officer of EDAP TMS. I've been working in the company for 25 years. I've been the CEO of the company for the last 16 years. And I've always been working on the medical equipment environment, working on more specifically in urology. And I've been following the development from the beginning of our high intensity focused ultrasound. Speaking about the company, EDAP is a company that has always been developing, manufacturing, distributing, and servicing robotic equipments and based on shockwave and therapeutic ultrasound. Mainly in the field of urology. We got started with extracorporeal shockwave lithotripsy for the treatment of kidney stones. And now we are promoting and launching on a worldwide basis, and more specifically in the US, our high intensity focused ultrasound technology for the treatment of prostate cancer. We've cleared our Focal One robotic HIFU device in 2018 in the US. We just achieved a CPT code category 1 in the US as well in January of this year. So we have we have achieved all the milestones, and we have everything in hand, so that we are now focusing and investing very heavily in our commercial and marketing operation in the US. But I will leave it to you for the question and answer now.
All right, excellent. Yeah, and definitely some things I want to talk about just within that, or from that introduction. Well, I guess maybe just starting here first, Mark. I thought it'd be good to start discussing some of the developments here in 2021 and how you see the business today compared to where we were maybe a year ago at this time. You've obviously accomplished a lot here this year. I think we'll start to see even more of the fruits come to bear in 22 from everything that's all the groundwork that's been laid this year. So I guess the first topic to get into is that with the HIFU business. Can you talk about the progress you've seen with the business here year to date, both with respect to new system sales, and then also just what you've seen in terms of system utilization and overall procedure demand?
Yeah, it's a good question with a lot of interesting things in it. And 2021 is a very special year for the company, and more specifically for the technology in the US market. We've got our CPT code category 1 in execution in January 1st of 2021. We continue to target tier 1 institutions to really build the market by adding reference centers, key opinion leaders in the use of the technology. And as you know, we have now a number of highly recognized centers and institutions, including Mayo Clinic, Cleveland Clinic, USC, UCSF, Mount Sinai, and others that are now that have acquired the technology and are using it. But also in 2021, we really wanted to transition from a more regulatory or reimbursement, achieving milestones, to a more operational type of management in the US. And we've recruited a very high experienced manager to run our US operation in the name of Ryan Rhodes, who has been in the medical equipment industry for the last 30 years, but has spent more than 10 years at Intuitive Surgical and in other robotic companies. The idea is to really structure the company for a massive launch in terms of sales and marketing operations in the US. Again, now that we have clearance from the FDA, reimbursement, a full CPT code category 1 reimbursement in the US, now it's time to really set up an organization that will be able to really promote and penetrate the market. To answer the second part of your question in terms of utilization, as I said, we have recruited and we have sold Focal One devices already to a interesting number of highly recognized and referenced institution in the treatment of prostate cancer. And we are seeing, since we were cleared in 2018, we are seeing an increase of the utilization every year in the existing installed base of equipment, as well as in the newly installed equipment in new hospitals. So the trend is really to the growth in terms of utilization as well as in terms of sales.
All right, excellent. That's a great introduction. And I want to dig in maybe a little bit more kind of real time here, and because there's been a lot of cross currents that have gone on in the industry, both from hospital capital spending standpoint. You're in the process right now of building out your commercial infrastructure. There's COVID challenges that are out there just in terms of accessing hospitals. So, or I guess wrapping all that together, or I guess considering all of those points, I guess talk about your level of satisfaction with how the commercial infrastructure so far is being built, and then maybe expand on how you think we see what you've done so far with the commercial infrastructure and what's going to play out, how that's going to and then influence some of this big bolus of demand that you're expecting for the business and for Focal One in particular.
So the expansion, the organization expansion is really just started this year. We've recruited Ryan in June of this year, so that's 3-4 months ago, and Ryan has already put into action a number of plans in terms of marketing communication, but as well as in terms of recruitment. The goal of Ryan and the goal of the company is really to recruit the best people. So it's not only a question of how many people we will put on the field, it's also a question of quality. We want the best people. We want to get talents. We want to have people that have already experienced successes in launching new and innovative technology. We want people that have already gone over the chasm in terms of product adoption cycles. So we really, and Ryan, based on his very strong experience and network, is very carefully working on recruiting the best people we can have. And he has already in mind a very clear strategy and organization. The idea is to really put a lot of people on the field to have the best possible coverage of the country. And the idea is to put in place a sales organization that will include capital dedicated people, salespeople, and also clinical dedicated people that will work on making sure the sites are well trained, well followed, well supported as well, so that they can maximize the utilization of the technology. As a reminder, we are really in a business, a razor blade type of business. So it's important to have the capital equipment salespeople that will sell the razor. But it's also very important to have the clinical sales representative that will make sure we sell the razor blade and we maximize the business out of the blades. So that's the organization that we put in place. We have already recruited some very experienced top managers for this organization that were also part of Ryan's network, and that have been very key people in the development of Intuitive Surgical together with Ryan. So we're very careful in recruiting the best-in-class people, the best-in-class sales guys that we can get on the market in the US.
Yeah, absolutely. And to your credit, one point you brought up there, Mark, and you've reiterated to me time and again, just the importance of finding the right sales talent rather than going out and hiring anyone, putting quality a whole lot more higher on the important scale than quantity, or the speed with which that happens, the speed with which you bring on the new folks. And I'm sure your shareholders all appreciate that, of just being a good steward of capital. If we'll think out maybe, and again, I'm going to turn this on its head though, if we think out over the next year, I mean, how confident are you that the sales organization will be fully resourced, fully staffed if we're sitting here a year from now? Again, not to put a clock on you on getting all that done, but just again, level of confidence on having that team fully built out.
No, I'm pretty confident that we will be able to recruit and get on board those high quality people and salespeople in a very timely manner. And I know Ryan is really spending a lot of time, a lot of effort. He's focusing his time on that. And again, he has a huge experience and a very strong network, as well as the guys he has already brought on board the company. So with that type of team and the project that we have, as well as, again, all the milestones we've achieved, I mean, it's now we're ready to go big time into the market, again, getting a technology that is cleared and reimbursed. So we have everything in hand to attract those talents and high quality people. So I'm pretty confident that will be, I mean, as you said, if we sit here in a year, we'll have already a very interesting and great coverage of the country with a great team of salespeople. 2021 will kind of be a transition year, again, from a structure that we had that was to get all the reimbursement clearance, to get started on little marketing strategies and stuff until we get really commercial with a strong and aggressive network of salespeople and marketing initiatives as well. So 2022, we should start seeing the impact of that new organization and structure during the year 2022. So I really expect the building of that team to be as quick as possible.
Got it. Okay. All right. That's helpful. And then one more on this topic on building out the sales force. Who's the right candidate? And again, understanding you're looking at the capital and the clinical side. Is it somebody? Do you have a preference that somebody has deep capital sales experience for that capital sales role? Are you looking for somebody that has a good hospital network, good urology network? What's the right candidate for that role? And then same thing on the clinical side, because those are two completely different focal points, or what you're trying to achieve with each of those rep groups.
Sure. For both, I think what's one of the key components is really to work with people that have been able to bring innovation, disruptive technology from the innovator pioneers status towards the majority adopters. And what we usually say, those people that have been able to cross the chasm, to go over the chasm and really bring something completely new and not used to something adopted by a majority of users. And that's because that's very different to be someone that is selling a device or a technology that's already completely adopted, used on a routine basis, or being someone that is able to really bring to the market something that is completely new, that has never been seen before. It's completely innovative. So that's a key component in both the clinical sales representative and the capital sales guy. And I think also the second point is really to have, on the capital side, people that have a strong experience and network within the healthcare system. That includes hospitals, but also organization like the LUCPA, which is the large urology group practice, chain of hospitals as well, VAs, all those people that, again, network is very important. It's key. It's when you have the network, it makes you save a lot of time instead of building it. So a strong experience, a strong expertise in capital sales is also a key component. And then for the clinical sales representative, it's important also that they have a very strong experience in the relationship with the key accounts. With the people in the hospital, in the OR, that are also very technical and technological oriented in helping and supporting the users to get to know the technology better and maximize, again, the use and the utilization of the technology in its different way.
All right, great. And I do want to shift over to reimbursement here just in a moment, but one quick one before doing that, just on the hospital capital spending side. I mean, this is always a tough topic. It's lumpy, it's tough to predict, but it's probably even more so actually now in the middle of the pandemic. But what's the on the ground feedback that you're hearing with respect to hospitals budgeting for big ticket items and just the visibility on the environment here starting to loosen?
Yeah, it's a complex time and environment due to COVID and due to the uncertainty that still is around the pandemic. Now, these are big capital equipments. I mean, big capital investments. So there is a lot of time and budget cycles and processes to be followed. So it's a long-term type of sell. It's not something you do in a few weeks. It usually takes some months, between 12 to 24 months to achieve. I mean, from scratch to a deal closing. But there are also opportunities to make it faster, as Focal One today is positioned for the treatment of prostate cancer, and prostate cancer is the #1 cancer in men by far in the US, but also in the world. I think in terms of death is the #2. So it's a very important disease to be managed. So this kind of tool, this kind of surgical, equipment is really giving the opportunity to, in that #1 cancer in men, bring a solution or fill a gap between a radical treatment or no treatment. And that represents for the hospital or for the healthcare organization or institutions more than just an additional equipment that you need to put into the budget. It really is or could be considered as a strategic investment. So it jumps a little bit out of the box of the normal sales cycle or the normal process of purchasing this kind of capital equipment. When the hospital or when the organization realizes that this is a real opportunity or a real solution that they could bring to, again, the #1 cancer in men. So it's more a strategic investment than a regular type of investment, and that again could be helping us to go faster in generating leads and in closing deals.
Got it. Okay, very helpful. So maybe shifting then over to the reimbursement topic, because this was a big discussion point from last week's call. Not sure if it surprised people or not, again, because the final rules were out there for a couple of weeks before your call. But I think just let's revisit the topic here and quickly recap, what's unfolded so far. You had the HOP panel that met over the summer, voted unanimously to recommend HIFU prostate ablation move to an APC level 6 from the current level 5 code, which would have translated to a near doubling of reimbursement. CMS then elected not to follow the HOP panel's recommendation, and the rationale from the agency being that they're relying on old claims data from 2019. So I guess feel free to correct me if there's anything inaccurate there, but my first question with respect to CMS is, what's the next step? Do we have to wait until the next round of proposals, or is there anything you can do in the meantime, but before those next proposals come out, before that next cycle, in order to have that reimbursement possibly again be go in your favor?
Yeah, so we're currently in active relation, I would say relational discussion with CMS to express our opinion based on the final rule that was released and the fact that they didn't follow the HOP panel that unanimously voted in favor of the upgrade to APC level 6 in August, like you said. But the final rule is now released, so it won't change. So that means in January 1st of 2022 will be as this year on an APC level 5, so we'll continue at the same level. Which again, I mean, it's a no-brainer in terms of pro forma, as our business case to the hospital was working very well with the APC level 5. Of course, having it upgraded to level 6 will have increased or would have added more. More reason for the investment, but we remain to the same level that we had since 2019. Now, next year we will work. At the beginning of next year, we will work with CMS to make sure they will, review the 2021 data and the 2020 data that they didn't take into account this year because they considered 2020 was a COVID year, so it was not a reference year. So we improved in 2020 our numbers because we're a new technology. So we improved the volume of claims, we improved the quality of claims in 2020 as compared to 2019. We continued to improve that in 2021. We have invested a lot of time and resources with external consultants to make sure we have a hotline dedicated to the claims for the hospital, for the users. So and we're supporting all of our users to make sure they're doing the right claims and in the right way, so that we have a very high quality of claim and they get really reimbursed on what they spent. So that has really had a lot of good results. And again, our data, we started to review the first data of 2021 that are very encouraging, and again much better than what it was in 2020 and 2019. So that will be reviewed by CMS in the beginning of the year, and again we'll interact, we'll work with them on making sure they review all those data so that they can propose a new rule in June or July like they usually do, and we hope and we are confident, I would say, because of the level of data that we have today, that they should propose a level 6 APC in June, July, and then they'll have to confirm it in November, like it's the use, and hopefully in 2023, again based on those great numbers and great data that we've had now, will be confirmed to an APC level 6. So we will continue to interact like we did. We'll continue also to monitor data. We'll continue to support our users so that they will make the right claims with high quality numbers. So that we could get to the APC level 6 next year.
Got it. Okay. And just on that, building on that last point, because the CMS will then presumably use 2021 claims data when trying to set the next set of proposals or the next year rates. Do you have any insight on what that claims data looks like right now from like early 2021 claims? And just is it comparable to what we saw in the regs for 2020 claims? Is it higher, or it's higher?
Yeah, it's much higher, and it's much closer to level 6 than level 5. So that's why it gives us a lot of hope in terms of an upgrade to level 6 during the 2022 review. It's much higher than 2020, and 2020 was already much higher than 2019. So for me, it's a no-brainer. But now the decision is in the hand of CMS. But it's really looking at the data, looking at the first data we've got from the beginning of 2021. It's really a no-brainer in terms of getting the reimbursement level to 6. Okay.
Yeah. Hopefully it's just more a matter of time then, because it's not, and everything right now sounds like it should be level 6 more so than level 5. Okay.
That's also why the HOP panel voted unanimously in that direction, because they also reviewed the numbers.
Right. Okay. Maybe on the commercial payer side, is it something that you're waiting on the finalizing that Medicare level payments or the level 6 payment before moving forward aggressively with the commercial payers? You want that higher reference rate, or can this work in parallel? Working with the commercial payers to expand coverage, improve coverage, and improve rates versus where you're at today.
No, it's work in parallel, and it's a work in progress. I mean, getting into the private payers is a very complex and complete process. It's not only you request a meeting and then you discuss, you try to convince. It's a global thing, and it includes, like you said, the volume. I mean, the level of reimbursement at CMS, but it also includes the volume of of treatment, so utilization. And again, we're focusing on getting more and more adoption and utilization among our existing sites and new sites. It's a question of demand, it's a question of volume, it's a question of a lot of things, and it's a question also of awareness. So we're working on all those fronts. And again, Ryan, as the leader of our US organization, is structuring the company in a way that we will be able to really work on all those fronts, and that will help making the coverage from commercial payers, and also working on the clinical results, working on the publications, working on the guidances, the NCCN guidelines, the AUA guidelines. All this together make that a private commercial payer will start covering a technology. So we have to work on all that together, and in parallel start lobbying among the commercial payer, and they will be able to make decision if we bring all those information and all those data to them. So that's exactly what we're doing, so to maximize again the chance of seeing more and more commercial payer starting to cover the technology. As a matter of fact, and as you may know, the salvage use of HIFU after radiation failure is in the NCCN guideline. And for that reason, already a number of private payers, commercial payers, are covering and reimbursing the use of HIFU in salvage treatment after radiation failure for prostate cancer. So all this together will help also to start some coverage for primary care patients.
Okay, great. I want to be respectful of time. Just the last question, and I'm not going to do this justice, just given the time constraints here, but rectal endometriosis, it could be a new indication for the company here. When we look at, you do have a phase 2 study that's currently enrolling. You just upsized the enrollment target here, here recently. Maybe talk again without getting into too much detail, because I know we're strapped for time. But how big could this opportunity be for EDAP if we're thinking longer term?
No, it's a huge opportunity, and it's very exciting, and it's getting more and more exciting as we move forward in the study, as we move also forward in presenting preliminary results. Last week we were in Austin, where the Association of Gynecology and Laparoscopy, American Gynecology and Laparoscopy, was doing his annual meeting. They invited Professor Dubernard from France, who is the main investigator on our phase 2 trial for the treatment of endometriosis. So he could present for the first time in the US his preliminary results. The audience was pretty large, and the feedback was extremely good. That has allowed us, as well as a company, to connect with a number of key opinion leaders in the treatment of endometriosis in the US, which will help us again to complete our working team in the US, so that we can prepare and design the right strategy towards the FDA path for the clearance of that indication in the years to come, to get started with a pre-sub meeting with the FDA. But again, I think the opportunity is huge. We do treat endometriosis with the exact same device, in our robotic focal one HIFU device, in the exact same configuration of prostate will do the endometriosis. So that also increasing the opportunity for the hospital to make a great business case in investing in the equipment. And it's a huge market. As you know, there are millions of women in the world suffering from endometriosis. And we are really bringing here a great solution, as surgery is extremely complicated. In a majority of cases, gynecologists will refuse to do surgery on deep rectal endometriosis, again, due to the difficulty of the surgery, but also to the side effect profile after surgery. So it really brings an unmet need and a strong solution for that very, I would say, popular, if I may, disease in women. So it's very exciting. Again, results are getting extremely promising from what we see from the first preliminary results in terms of quality of life, as well as in terms of release of symptoms on women that have been treated with our robotic HIFU. So we're very excited again by getting that new application together with prostate on the same device, and that will certainly increase a lot the potential and the opportunity of the device worldwide.
Right. Excellent. That's great. We covered a lot of ground here, Mark, the last half hour. So very helpful discussion as always. Really looking forward to seeing the continued progress with the business here going forward. Thanks so much for joining us today. Thanks to everyone for tuning in, and hope you all enjoy the upcoming holidays.
Thank you, Jason, and thank you for the opportunity, and you all have a great day.
Thanks, Mark.
Bye-bye.